Hello, my little friends. Welcome to a pretty cool news video. So today's Thursday, the 23rd of May. And there wasn't a dev stream today. In fact, the devs might be off work for something, which is fine. There can be breaks and things like that. And there's no need to be too schizophrenic about, tracking exactly what they're doing. But we still did get a teaser. Now, obviously, this is the kind of thing that I think would normally be in a live stream teaser. But it doesn't really matter. So last week when we got the obscured version of the key art, which, you know what, I'll bring it up now just briefly. I think they also said around the time, obviously it's not on the post itself, they said that we would see the full version next week. I think they said that. And, well, we have it now in the Season 5 full key art reveal. And so I'm going to go through the post and then I'm going to actually analyse the art itself. You know, it's mostly self-explanatory, but I feel like there are some small insights and things that I can point out that might be of interest at least. So let's get into it. Hello miners, it's a beautiful day to share some key art. We spent all week clearing the dust away from the obscure teaser image we shared last week. So now we're ready for the big reveal. Here's the full key art for Season 5, Digging Deeper. And there it is in all its glory. We're going to take a closer look at it in a minute, but let's get on with the rest of the post first. In Digging Deeper, management is expanding your range of operations, sending you further towards Hoxie's core in pursuit of precious Morkite seeds. It's business as usual, 4 dwarves up against a planet full of hungry, hostile bugs. But as you can see in the art above, there are some new enemies joining the ranks. Keep the safety switched off and brace yourself for deadly encounters with the Vartok Scale Bramble, the Barrage Infector, the Glyphid Stalker, and a mysterious new horror. All that and loads more coming on June 13th. There's also the Order of the Deep Season 5 DLC. Well, yeah, let's say we're aware of this DLC. We've already done that. That's it for now. More cool stuff on the way. Stay tuned. If there's more cool news on the way, then I'm going to be very impressed. Because obviously cool stuff on the way is Season 5 itself, and obviously the experimental branch as well. But yeah, we finally have the full key art. So this is what you will see when you load into the game now. Obviously after Season 5 releases. And I think it's pretty good. It really does emblemize, I think that is a word, it is emblematic, that's what you meant to say. It's emblematic of the theme of Season 5, which is a relatively simple theme. Okay? Which is kind of just Deep Rock, the company, DRG, expanding its operations, and that's where any new problems arise. But it is really just about expanding the operations and us carrying out those operations, carrying out the deep scans, and harvesting the core stone. And everything else in the update is just there to go along with it and substantiate this as a really fresh and thorough update to the game. And I think the key art is emblematic of that, in that it's not the most striking key art we've had. And that's the funny thing about Season 4. I think Season 4 might have had the most striking key art, and it was the most lackluster season. So that is actually kind of an interesting spin on things. Obviously, I'm assuming Season 5 won't be lackluster. I'm very confident in that fact. But I do think there's this interesting paradigm to take note of there, in that maybe we should have got a season like this before, where it's just a much simpler theme, and that can, come with it a whole host of more generic and valuable additions to the game. And I think that's exactly what Season 5 is going to be. I'm sorry for wasting your time. I think we need to actually start analysing the art itself. So I brought it up in a separate tab so we can take a closer look at individual things. We can sort of go from left to right. So obviously there's the logo itself. I mean, that's kind of a bit too close. So the logo has obviously been spruced up a bit from when we last saw it, I believe, which is here. I was wrong. It's actually here. There it is. That was sort of the original logo that we saw on the Horizon stream. I think this is a pretty big improvement. The cyan is a really nice colour to use for a season. That was something that I noticed, Obviously, we're not too fussed about the season having the strongest theme in the world and it being overridden by themed content, and that definitely seems to be the case, is that it's not going to be overrun by themed content, and that's the most minimal part of Season 5. But there was a small concern, and not about the quality of the update, more just so the quality of the hype surrounding the update, and that was that Season 5, branding-wise, felt, sourceless. There wasn't much going on in terms of the branding and sort of the visual flair that the season would bring. And this does a little bit to change that. The logo was very bland before, and I think it at least has a more striking color scheme, and the shadows have sort of been embellished a bit more. It looks pretty nice, and I also think it probably means that I reckon the script for this season is probably going to be cyan as well. I think that is actually a I think that is a recurring thing for the seasons, except for season 1 having purple, but it wasn't the opposite of purple, like the branding colours. Anyway, so on top of that, first of all, actually, I think that this drill here could also represent the logo for Deep Scan, and in that same vein, it's possible that the colours here could represent the logo for the Deep Scan mission. That could be a bit of a reach. I was personally leaning towards it being more of a saturated beige that would still stand out, like kind of, but not like by a huge amount necessarily. Cyan would be kind of weird because Escort Duty and Salvage Up are already variations on Cyan Turquoise. The teal here wouldn't be too bad, but I actually like this ice blue, and it also represents the resonance crystals fairly well. So this ice blue colour here on the drill, I could see that being the logo for Deep Scan, for the mission type. Especially because I think this drill is probably going to be in the mission type logo, potentially. I'm not sure. That might not be true. Anyway, we also got the release dates on the thing itself. June 13th, this was already confirmed a couple of days ago, and makes sense. It's like just before the middle of the month. It's pretty much the perfect time to drop it. Consoles, of course, it says June question mark on consoles. I believe it originally did give a date, release date announcement. I'm not sure. Oh, does it not actually say? It'll hit PlayStation and Xbox up to 2 weeks after that. So that's why it's a question mark and not, what would it be? The 27th of June. That's why it's a question mark and not just the 27th of June, because the updates tend to land basically whenever they can put them out. Now, they said that it will be up to 2 weeks, and that basically means that they know it's going to be at least a week after the launch. But they will still put it out as soon as it's ready. So it'll probably be slightly less than 2 weeks. I would reckon maybe June 22nd even. Or June, actually not 22nd. Let me think. Probably June 25th, actually. Which isn't much earlier, but they've dropped them on Tuesdays quite a lot. They like Tuesday. Anyway, so that could happen. Anyway, still sort of going from left, like starting on the left side with the Vartok Scale Bramble here, which some people in the obscured version of the key art actually mistook for a corrupted rival turret, like a rival sniper turret that had been infected by the rockpox, which, thinking about it now, could have been a joke about how kind of tone deaf it would be to make but also kind of funny that it would be to make a rockpox robot enemy. I actually wouldn't hate that personally. I think it would be kind of funny. It would be a kick in the balls, certainly, but as long as the enemy still fits in and is cool and fun to play against, then I don't think it would be much of a problem. The Scale Bramble, I think probably will be, and I don't think the sniper turret thing is accidental. I do think it is going to be a very sniper turret adjacent enemy. Obviously, it's one of the 2 new stationary enemies, and it will basically be like a turret, like a heavily armored turret that you can only damage after you destroy its 3 weak points, which trail away from the creature itself. Can't actually glimpse the actual tendrils. I know we can, so if you can see just off the left of this bulb, tendril that will eventually lead back to the thing itself. So you need to destroy 3 of these, and then you can actually target the thing itself and destroy it. So that makes sense, I suppose. Going down a bit, we have this Scout, looking pretty cool in the Order of the Deep armor. I actually really like the Scout one now I'm looking at it clearly. In the original DLC trailer, it was actually covered by its beard. But this strap here for the cape really does a lot for the look. So that's sort of the DLC armor, sort of in action, in an illustrated style still. We also have the resonance crystals. So the resonance crystals are part of the Deep Scan mission type, and they're basically these things you need to find and scan. You find them with your telemetric rangefinder, which basically gives you like a ping of how close you are to one at any given moment. And you sort of use that as like a hot and cold mechanic to find these resonance crystals, and then you cool down the pod here that will scan the resonance crystal. And once you've scanned all of the resonance crystals, I believe it's free, but it might vary based on the mission variations potentially. And once you've done that, you can then go down to the Morkite geode. Now, what we originally saw in the the On Horizon stream, was that the Resonance Crystal seemed very simplistic. It was really just buried in just sort of generic soft dirt. That could still be the case because the Resonance Crystals don't need a particularly fancy design. In fact, that's why I'm saying I do think this is the Resonance Crystal. This white part is not part of the device. The Resonance Crystal is clearly going to be quite a simple object in terms of appearance. And it really does just seem like it's being dug out of the dirt. Just basic dirt, basically. So yeah, there's our Resonance Crystal. We got Engineer over here looking pretty cool, obviously. And the scanner itself that you would call down and then connect with sort of the pipeline system that they adapted for Salvage Op as well, for the fuel connection segment. It's pretty basic stuff. It's the most basic part of the mission. Now, I did look around at sort of the dwarves to see if I could identify any potential overclock spoilers. Nope. Scout's holding a pickaxe. NG is holding a sniper rifle and just firing it like that, which could, you could spin as being like a hip fire overclock. I doubt it though. I wouldn't be against it. I just don't think that's what this is showing necessarily. And the flamethrower here is not inherently the firewall inferno thing that they showed or teased on the stream. Anyway, still going from left to right, we now have the fella. Now, obviously, the text itself of the post, it did confirm, in fact, that the crawler, the thing that we saw in the teaser, this teaser, is in fact not the Clifford Stalker, as some people suspected. It is obviously the Hoxie's crawler that we saw in the Below Decks post for Road Core about the Hoxie's crawler. So obviously the post mentions that. It mentions the Vartok Scale Bramble, it mentions the Barrage Infector, and it mentions the Clifford Stalker all by name. And then sort of the, the new unknown horror, basically. And that is the Hoxie's Crawler. It could have a different name. Technically, I will submit to that. It might not be called the Hoxie's Crawler. But we do know it's a different enemy type, and it's definitely tied to the season theme. Now, obviously, the way that it's worded in the post makes it sound like it might actually be a generic enemy, which would be really cool. But I still think it is going to be tied to the Corestone event quite specifically. But anyway, so what this key art does give us is a closer look at this ugly bastard. Now, I'm going to quickly go and find the Road Core Below Decks post, because it had some stuff to do with this in it, about what the crawler might do, what it might be. We don't need that to play, thank you very much. Here it is. So I'm going to scroll down to this concept art, basically, which shows that the crawler, this version of it, it's clearly this is what they've adapted. It's quite a hollow, almost stone-like face that it normally has that opens up into the fleshy, like monstrous underneath. And I suspected that we might get that. I wasn't like 100% sold, but it looks like we're getting that, and I am all for it. It looks like a fucking demon dog from Stranger Things. Really creepy design. It's really cool to see something like this with something with a lot of artistic license in Deep Rock, like really taking the art style and pushing the boundaries of what you can see in Deep Rock. That's why I love the Hoxie's Crawler so much, and to have it actually be in the game in Deep Rock so soon is really refreshing, actually. So there it is. It's a disgusting imp. So we could look up here and see nothing really of note. Just sort of enemies crawling down. Now, obviously, a lot of this, the art kind of inspired some discussion about whether or not we're looking at a new biome. Now, I'm not ruling that out. I personally don't think they would have kept that under wraps for this long, though. I don't think this is a biome. I'm not ruling it out. It's probably, but chances are it's either just an approximation of fungus bogs or sandblasted corridors or magma core. You could look at the Season 3 key art and see that the biome in that key art is really ambiguous anyway. I think you can actually say the same for Season 1. It is, in my opinion, a bit of a strange thing to pick up on, especially because if this is a new biome that's being shown here, it's extremely bland. Now, it's also not the Morkite geode, though. And that sort of brings up the aspect of what's actually being shown on screen here in relation to the deep scan mission type. Now, obviously, the scanner here and the resonance crystal are part of the first half of the mission, and then the drill elevator shown here is part of the second half. Obviously, sort of the framing of this has caused some confusion, clearly. I think this is really just flavor, basically. They're just sort of putting the two elements in the key art just to show them off. This does not mean that you'll see a scenario exactly like this. But if I were to, hypothesize on the scenario that is being shown, the Drillivator has clearly just been sent down in the initial stage. So once you have scanned all of the resonance crystals, then they'll send in the Drillivator, and it will land somewhere for you to go and get on it, and then it will go down to the geode. This is the first part of that, where it's just come down and it's just waiting for you to get on it. I think that's what this is. The light coming from above actually inspired some people to speculate about the addition of a surface biome or game mode. Absolutely not happening. If it did, I'll eat my words, but trust me, not happening. This is just light, just as a framing device to show off the Drillivator. That's all it is. It's just artistic direction. Also, we can also see a gunner over here wearing his Order of the Deep armor, but nothing special going on there. Obviously, there is the Barrage Infector to his right, which is another one of the new stationary enemies. It's a member of the Infector family. Really makes me wish that they actually redeveloped the Spitball Infector into a member of the Corlock family, and then this could have sat alongside it in there instead. But here it is anyway. We've seen kind of what it can do, not in motion, but we kind of know what it does. It actually, some people think that it is a spreader, basically, like a septic spreader or a Trijor. It's not really either. It's not dissimilar to them, though. It's actually quite similar to the spreader as well. So what the Barrage Infector actually does, it actually shoots a shotgun of projectiles. More than 3, by the way. Obviously, that could have changed. They could have limited it to 3. They could have potentially changed the behavior to a burst attack. But based on what we saw and were told about in the On the Horizon broadcast, the Barrage Infector shoots a shotgun barrage of timed explosives. I believe the timed explosives will probably slow you down when you're stuck in them, but really it's just a total area denial enemy. And you're probably not going to actually be in a situation like this. I've just realised you're probably not going to be in a situation where the stationary enemies are really being a problem for you on the Drillivator. That probably won't happen in the mission type. But yeah, that's the Barrage Infector. And let's sort of bring it down. So we've got another crawler here on the right, which people suspected was actually the Glyphid Stalker, which I think made sense. It was sort of positioned in this way. If we went back to the first version of the key art, I don't think anything in this sort of area was actually shown at all. So yeah, so you could have mistaken this for a silhouette of the Glyphid Stalker. I actually did personally. I believed that it might have been that, to be honest. And of course there was complete absence here. But what we now have there is Driller, obviously in his Order of the Deep armor, facing off against a Glyphid Stalker who is much smaller than I imagined. Pretty interesting design. I don't exactly know what the glowing part here is meant to represent, because it looks like the mouth is underneath it. This has got this like weird like leaf, like headdress vibe going on. And honestly, not too dissimilar from the prototype version that we saw in the form of a slasher with green highlights. It's pretty similar to that, to be honest, which is fine. I really like the art direction that they had going on for the Stalker in that version of it. So to see it brought through to the current version is cool. And this is sort of like, I think one of the major things to pick up on from this post is actually the Stalker design being revealed. And yeah, he just looks like a unique Glyphid, and that's all he really needs to be. So yeah, that is the Season 5 Drilling Deeper key art, revealed and analysed to the best of my ability. If there's anything you think I missed, then please let me know. And of course, if you enjoyed this, please make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to stay on top of everything to do with Deep Rock Galactic and Rogue Corps, then of course hit the bell as well. You can look at this crawler while I end the video. Alright, thanks guys. We'll see you on Saturday for a podcast. Unless they drop some kind of teasers tomorrow, which I would be surprised by. Also, sorry about this being a little bit late, actually. I was just out. Simple as that. I didn't have the time to, I didn't have the opportunity to actually do this at the time that it was released. So, apologies for that. I hope I made up for it with the truly insightful analysis. Anyway, see you later, guys.